welcome to Overwatch Basics in under 3 minutes. Today we have resources. So 3, 2, 1, go. So what's a resource? A resource in general is a stock or supply of money, materials, staff, and other assets that can be drawn on by a person or organization in order to function effectively. What are resources in Overwatch? Well, resources in Overwatch or in games like Overwatch is everything. So we have hero-based resources, map-based resources, and other resources. So hero-based resources include recurable resources such as primary fire, which you can just regain by reloading, abilities, which you have to wait cooldowns for. You have ultimates, which are going to charge at a slow rate and are the most impactful. And then you have health, which is a resource only regainable by healing, and presence, such as a Widow Sideline or spam. Then we have map-based resources such as objectives. If you control the objective, you usually have an advantage because the enemy needs to come to you. Then there is high ground and positioning advantages, which are advantages that are present. If you, for example, have high ground, you can always drop down to high ground and other people need to use cooldowns or use resources to get to you. And positioning resources include resources such as choke points, where you can spam, for example, into a choke point as Junkrat. Then there's other resources such as team comp resources. What I mean by that is there is resources which depend on your synergy with other heroes. Then there is space as a resource. How much space does your team have? How much space can you give up? How much space can you take using resources? Then there's the numbers advantage. Of course, having more people on your team in a team fight is always better because you have more impact as more people. So for example, if you're fighting a 6v5, you're usually going to win the fight. Then there's time as our last resource, which is a non-gainable resource after the first 2 rounds, which means it's the most important resource and it's going to run out. You only have a certain time to get points or objectives in Overwatch. The only way to regain is during round 1 and 2 by capping an objective. So how do you use resources effectively? You always want to look at how much resources you used in order to gain a certain amount of resources. Your goal is always to use your resources to gain a resource advantage over your enemy team and get progress on the objective or points. Then, if you have more resources than the enemy team, you're usually going to win a team fight. If you're repeating this process of getting more resources and draining the enemy resources, you're going to usually win the game. What do you do in case the enemy has more resources? Well, you need to force resources or end the fight quick. In case of the enemy having more ultimates than you do, you want to force ultimates in order to gain an equal amount of resources. And when you are people down, you want to die quick in order to give the enemy the least resources possible. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is time.